Hello there, welcome Genesis Models and welcome to episode 15 of our Phantom build. Now in this episode we're really sort of going to finish off all nicely, all this lovely natural metal finish that we've got going on in this area. You know, getting it all sort of masked up, spraying the different colours, buffing them all up, how to sort of buff them up when you've got different colours and all that cool stuff. So that'll be all nicely finished, as well as we touch on, you know, because we've sprayed up our exhaust nozzles and stuff here all ready to go. I thought, you know what, let's, while things are drying, we'll nicely weather up all our ceramic plating inside our exhaust. It's a little bit hard to see, but you know, we get all that nice sort of exhaust kind of soot and everything sort of in there, get some streaking going on. I don't know how hard it is to see. It is quite hard to see, but you know, it gets it all looking sooty and streaky and cool, and we'll show you how to do that also. So let's get building. Now this has all had time to dry. It's been a couple of days since I've last touched this. I know this paint's all nicely gone rock hard and cured. Now what we're going to do is get some masking going on. So it's good to have all sorts of different masking tapes. Good old Tamiya, you know, what is it, 6, 10 and 16 mil was it? No, sorry, 18 mil. We've got stuff like Jammy Dog tape. You can get that off eBay. Tamiya does these nice new curve ones as well. Good to have all these kind of things going on in your little sort of collection. Now when it comes to masking, nice and easily, I mean, you know, small is kind of the better. You've got a bit more control when, you know, the thinner the masking tape is. But really, you know, a quick bit of basic ones here. What you want to do is sort of, well, first off, I mean, you know, just to be on the safe side, you know, on the back of your hand, you could put the masking tape on there, and it just makes it a little bit less tacky, so you kind of, you know, potentially don't sort of peel up the paint. Right, and what we want to do, we want to find our first line. What we want to do is mask up our first colour we've sprayed on here. Right, so we're just going to find the first line, you know, point A. Right, and once we've got point A, we don't want to go off and go point B, C, D, E and F, right? You know, we want to kind of do point A to point B, so it's always good to sort of, you know, pinch where you've got point A nicely lined up, and because this is a nice straight line, we kind of just pull a little bit tight and come down straight onto point B. And what this does is gives us a nice straight line to deal with. Really nice, cool, easy and basic. Couple of some scissors wherever they've gone. I find these Tamiya scissors just here, they're really sort of nice and sort of precise, small. Just get in here and sort of cut off any of this excess that we don't need. Right, now what you'll also notice is I've cut that off at a nice sort of ish 45-degree angle. This is cool for like when we've got areas like this where it's not a straight line, right? We can actually, you know, take the point and lay the point right down where we've got a nice bit of an angle going on. A little bit tricky to sort of get that into position, but once you've got that point A press down, give me a second, there we go. Once you've got that point A pressed down, we can then hold it to go up to point B, and we've then got sort of like a nice sort of straight point there, and then plain simply we can go off, get another piece, but again cut that at a sort of a nice 45-degree angle, right? So then this can line up with that point just like so, and make sure that's running nicely along the line. And as you can see, we then get a pretty cool sort of nice sharp point there with the masking tape, which is sort of like nice little basics. And then you can sort of, you know, I like to sort of get your cut-offs. Again, we've got sort of like a nice point here just to try and get that in there. Right, maybe another little piece just in there just to cover all that up, and it gives us a pretty sort of nice sharpish line. I'm just gonna score this end just here, right where this panel line is, because we need to just do this. I'll just score the first little bit right, and then I'll come in, and where I've scored it, right, I'll just sort of cut that away, and that gives us a pretty sort of nice straight line there. So we'll sort of now go around this area, and this is a bit of a curve, right, which is a little bit this is where things like the jammy dog tape or the curve tape comes in handy. We can pull sort of like a nice bit of this off. Again, we'll just cut that, and what we want to do is go with this curvature. These are sort of like the tricky ones, so it's kind of just get this laid down a bit, and what we want to do, sort of again go to that point A. I'm not worrying about it kind of overlapping yet, you know. I mean, we can cut that up with a blade, and it's just sort of, you know, sort of pinching it with your thumb and sort of slowly curving it around until we've gone with that curvature. At this stage, you know, you can sort of with your nail sort of maybe push it in or out a little bit, just slightly maneuvering it, just getting it just right. And there we go, we've gone with that curvature quite nicely. Then, you know, it's just kind of, you know, finding that panel line and just sort of cutting into this. It's good to have a nice fresh blade. Right, you want to just try and get the depth just right, you know, a little bit of experience, just kind of, you know, just so you're just applying enough pressure that you just cut through the masking tape and just get it just right. And we did the same, basically, all on the other side, and that's pretty much sort of a nice little bit of basic masking. I'll show you some more if we need to, but we get that masked up. And again, you know, when we spray this top area just here, we don't have to worry about masking the top because we'll be doing that later, and we can just freely mask the, spray this area. So now we're all nicely masked up. Now what we're going to do is just, we're going to come in with stainless steel. This is 213. This is the colour I've kind of chose for this top part. Now just like before, you know, we just want to, you know, get our air pressure about 10-13 psi, and we want to just do those light misty coats just to start off with. It's all nicely masked up, so we haven't got to worry too much. Now when it comes to masking, you know, it's really sort of crucial you don't flood the area. If we was to sort of just blast like a load of paint where our masking tape is, we can have what's called bleed through, which is basically where you've kind of just pulled it up so much where the masking tape is, and it's just bled underneath the masking tape. So, you know, it is good to make sure you keep your coats nice and light and not looking too wet. Right, and we just kind of just spray that on. It does go down really quick and really well. And then again, let that dry for maybe 10-15 minutes. Now just like before, we get out a nice sort of cleanish cloth that you kind of use the same job for really. And all we're going to do is, just like before, we will start off nice and lightly and start to buff these up. Now what you'll notice though is I've left the masking tape on. Right, now I've done this for a specific reason, because, you know, this is, it has got a dusty surface, and we are sort of transferring this dusty surface onto the cloth. And what I don't want, right, is remove the masking tape, you buff it all up, and we kind of leave like maybe possibly a bit of a dusty sort of stain on the other colours, and it kind of looks a little bit naff. So, you know, leaving this masking tape on is kind of like what you want to do, so as we are just buffing up the colour that we are wanting to buff up, and we're not kind of messing up any of the other colours. So yeah, same procedure, keep on rubbing at it and rubbing at it. You know, the more you rub, the shinier it gets. The less you rub, the kind of dirtier it looks. So you kind of rub at your own sort of level of what sort of level you are after with this. What I also want to do is maybe add a little bit of extra something to this, right? So all I'm going to do is actually do a little bit of masking and kind of, do you know when you sort of, you know, they change like a plate out or a panel out for like something maybe a bit newer, and it looks a bit of a different colour. Well, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to take just one of these panels, right? Random panels, like do it different the opposite side. And we're just gonna, you know, sort of mask up one of these panels, which this is gonna be pretty quick and easy. I'll also show you a bit of sort of your, you know, the direction of your airbrush, right? Because I've just masked that up, and I'm going to spray this one panel just here. But as you can see, these are all still exposed. So a little bit of airbrush control, so we don't have to just mask up absolutely everything every single time, to give us a bit of confidence in spraying. Right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to go off, and I was going to use, I do believe it was not the stainless, I think it was aluminium, right, a bit of a lighter colour just to make it look a bit more shinier and newer. This is 218, again by Mr. Metal Colour. Now, to get good sort of control over your airbrush, I like to teach like getting the biting point, which is a bit like a car, like a clutch control. Right, so I'll just get some paint just in here. Oh, I am getting so low on these colours. Right, so we get a nice bit of paint. Sorry, I totally ran out of my aluminium, so I'm going to put this new one in here, which is their was it super stainless 2. So we're going to just try this one out, 204. Hopefully it's a buffable paint, because I think it's a little bit different, but we'll move along. But anyway, getting out of kitchen paper towel, the biting point is whereby we press down the trigger to get air, and as we pull back the trigger, the biting point is that point in which paint starts to come out. Right, so hopefully you could see that. Right, press down the trigger, pull back, and that point, boom, as soon as that paint comes out, that's your biting point, that's your control point. Right, this is a point at which you want to practice, off the model, and just hold that biting point. If you can hold that pointed point at the point at which paint just starts to come out, you can have so much control to do all sorts of things with airbrushing. So yes, we're going to now go off, put this lid on, right, and we're going to sort of try and control this biting point here. Now that means us getting in close. If we're far away, our spray pattern is going to be bigger, and thus we're going to end up overspraying onto all these colours that we don't want to. But if we're getting close, we only need this little bit of masking tape. So again, we're getting in close, right, and we're making sure, we could sort of make sure our angle doesn't overspray, say over this way, or we're spraying this way and it sort of sprays over there. Come at this angle, we're going to be spraying up. Now this area doesn't matter, we've got none of the colours that we need to mask up there. So coming at this angle, so we've got the angle, we're getting in close, we're going to hold our biting point, so as the paint just starts to come out, not too much, right, so that we can then just literally be spraying this nice little area. And because we're in close, we're not going to be overspraying much at all, enough so that this bit of masking tape will hold it. And as you can see, that's been sprayed in, but we've only sprayed that area because we've got in close and we've held our biting point. It just saves a lot of masking. It helps you sort of later on down the line with things like pre-shading, post-shading, bleaching, and all these kind of lovely stuff. So biting point, getting good control, and as you can see, we can do that. And then we can probably remove this. Well, actually no, we kind of want to buff it up first, then we can remove the masking tape and reveal the sort of pretty patterns that we've been making. And now with the masking tape nicely removed, we kind of get a little bit of a final reveal there. It just looks so good, these natural metal finishes. It even sort of, kind of gets into those recessed panel lines and recessed rivets and leaves sort of unbuffed areas. Looks really, really cool. Now what I want to do with this is basically what I've already showed you. Seal it in with a gloss coat, leave it for about a day to make sure it dries so you can mask it up all nicely without any sort of peeling. So then with all our natural metal finishes all nicely masked up, we can then move along, getting the priming down and moving along with spraying the whole model. But while we wait for that to just dry, we do have our exhausts here. Now if you remember, we did spray them this nice white grey, which gives us a bit of a ceramic sort of look in there, but that is just way too clean. Right, so what we're going to do is dirty these up. Now I'm going to come in straight away. Now this is Flurry Models weathering wash. I do believe Ultimate Model Products does them as well. This is brown, and this color is quite brown, maybe not the sort of the color you want to go for, but we're going to do this as a base. Right, so with this all we need to do is literally just plaster it inside of fear, right? Just kind of just get it all nicely in here, plastered everywhere. No need to sort of be accurate or anything, right? This is just a weathering wash. It's a pigment sort of sludge wash kind of thing, right? So there's no medium to it, so it technically doesn't stick, right? And that's a good thing because we can play around with this and get some nice streaking and details brought in. So as you could see, let's just finish that off. We just plastered that in there. What we want to do with this now is let that nicely dry, right, so as we can move along with the next bit. As I say, this color is brown. It's probably not, you know, you're probably thinking more soot and black, but it's going to be a nice base. So with our base now down and dry, about half an hour sort of gets that all nice and dry. As you can see, not looking too pretty in there. But let's get out a cotton wool bud, right, a little bit moist. And what we want to do is sort of try and get in here and from the bottom streak upwards with the cotton wool bud. Right, now at first you probably won't see much happening, but as you sort of start to streak more and more and more, right, it'll start sort of coming away. And it's a little bit hard to focus going inside this tube, but you might start to see that this wash is starting to pull up off of the surface, right, and it leaves behind inside all the recesses, recess rivets, recess panel lines and all this kind of stuff. Make that a little bit more moist, and starts to show the detail off. But what I'm also doing is, as we're sort of streaking up and down, we don't want to completely remove this and completely clean it all up. And what you'll start to see is streaks start to appear. Maybe if I turn this upside down, you can sort of see maybe a little bit better in there, sort of like streaks starting to appear, right? So we keep on sort of playing with this until we sort of basically manipulate this pigment. As you could see, because it's like it hasn't got a medium in there, it's not sticking to the model, we can clean this up. We could keep at this and we could probably clean it completely and utterly up. But what you'll also notice is, as I'm doing these kind of long streaks in here, I've not changed my cotton wool bud, right? If I go off and get a cleaner cotton wool bud, we're going to clean this up a lot, and we don't want to really clean this up. We really want to sort of get this looking really dirty inside. Alright, so that's kind of looking good. I think I'm basically there. Hopefully we can focus, and you can sort of see in there, you know, the details being shown off now. We're seeing some streaks going on, right, and that's our first layer. Right, as I say, brown, it's not really the colour you're kind of after, but as a base it's going to be great. What we want to do now is go off and seal this in, get your airbrush out and spray in a nice little gloss coat. I'm going to be using the Floor Pledge multi-surface wax cleaner stuff. Go to the forum on the Genesis Models website, loads of detail on there, because different countries call it different names and stuff, but basically it's a floor cleaner and it's a really cheap gloss. And for something like this, where we just want to basically seal in this brown weathering wash, you know, perfect, nice, easy and cheap, we want to seal it in because we're now going to come across and use dark dirt as our next colour. But if we don't seal in our brown, we can reactivate the brown, and we can be cleaning up the brown and smudging the brown in with the dark dirt. It seals it in, it'll keep it like that, but then we can do the same with dark dirt. So I've sealed this in now with a nice gloss coat, really sort of quick, you know, maybe like a misty coat and then a light coat. You know, you don't want too many coats because you'll be waiting for ages for it to dry, and it only needs a bit really. I have been sort of cutting to wear and really trying to dry this off, because, you know, you want to speed these things up and it is a bit of a messy job, so, you know, it's not much of a big deal. Now we're coming along again, dark dirt. This is all nice and dry in here now with a gloss coat, so this work has been saved in here, our brown. So again, same sort of process, you know, get out our dark brown and we just plaster this inside. So you can't see that well on camera, because as I'm painting it in, you know, you need to get good angles to be able to see in here, but, you know, I'm just quickly plastering that dark brown in there, and as you can see, it's getting darker and darker to get more sootier and dustier. and you just want to, again, leave that to dry for maybe half an hour, and we'll sort of repeat the process, only a little bit different. So there you go, it is all nicely dried in there, good half an hour, really looking pretty sort of dirty in there. But again, we want to do the same sort of streaking thing. Now, when it comes to, I mean, when you get sort of darker and darker, and these F4s, right, they're you don't really see the ceramic as much as you would say on an F16, you know, so you do kind of want it to be as dirty as you can get it, really. I'm just going to actually take my clean cotton wool bud, and I'm just going to dip it a little bit into our actual wash here. Right, I'm only doing this because I don't want it to clean up so much. So basically, you know, get yourself a dirty cotton wool bud, and we can just start to do the whole streaking process again. Right, and hopefully you'll start to see, you know, this sort of reactivating, sort of getting nice and wet again, and it sort of moves off the surfaces, and you can start getting the streaks, right? And you just want to do it as sort of as light as possible, really, you know, kind of, you know, let those streaks happen. You don't want it to press too hard and you sort of clean it right up, right? And you just keep doing that, and doing that same process over and over again until you basically work your way through to the third colour, which will be our black just there. And with the final colour, you should end up with, because I'll just speed this up rather than kind of keep going through it all, just basically, you know, paint this stuff on using a cotton wool bud, met the streaks, seed it in with a gloss coat, move along with the next colour until you basically end up with something like this. Maybe it is a little bit hard to see. You can, if we turn it around, maybe you can sort of see the streaks on the inside, but it's very lots of just dirty looking, streaky, you know, a mixture of colours, right? But you can still see the ceramic a little bit here and there, right? And it just gives you a really sort of nice, dusty, dirty, streaky looking look to the inside of your exhaust. And then we'll probably sort of finish building these up, because I've already sort of sprayed again. You know, I've come in, which colour did I think I used the aluminium, I do believe. Was it aluminium? No, it wasn't. It was, I used the stainless 213 to kind of do our ends of our exhaust, and again I polished them up so it kind of brings it all together and looks all nice and cool inside there. Again, it's a little bit hard to see in there because of lighting and camera, but it does look rather cool. So sadly we've come to the end of this episode, but up in the next episode, you know, now we've got all this natural metal finish all nicely sorted and done. Off camera, you know, I've already said I'm going to sort of gloss this up and get it all masked up. I've already shown you that. But with that now all out of the way, we can really move in and get some spraying stuff. So we're going to be sort of really covering a lot of spraying and all this cool stuff, primers, pre-shading, post-shading, bleaching, you know, as much as we can. We're going to be masking this up, doing 2-color camo going on as well, spraying up the canopies, all sorts. You know, we're going to probably spend like an episode or 2 or maybe 3 just kind of really going to town with all our spraying. So you know, if you've got sort of you know, if you're sort of maybe basic level on spraying, or maybe not sort of done any spraying, we should really sort of get you up to speed when it comes to that kind of stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you'll be looking forward to the next episode. But as always, my name is Bob Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.